If in 30 seconds you don't feel like you've discovered the fundamental error that's preventing you from getting what you want, you can close this video. There's a universal law recorded by Thoth that says that to achieve something, you must walk in the opposite direction. I won't explain the law to you now. First, I'll prove to you that you've been making the wrong move your entire life. Think about the one thing you desire most right now. Money, love, health. Feel the force with which you chase it, the anxiety, the need to control. Now, relax your shoulders. Take a deep breath, and for a moment, simply accept its absence. Feel the tension ease in your body. There you go. You've just taken the first step in the reverse movement. The universe doesn't respond to your desperate pursuit. It responds to this space you've just created. That was the first lesson. You've experienced firsthand the difference between struggling and flowing. Now, I'll show you why your constant striving is actually pushing your dreams away, using the archer analogy the ancient masters used. Later, I'll give you 3 practical gateways to apply this reversal in your daily life. And when your system is ready to understand, I'll reveal how Thoth and other sages used this law to manifest realities. Stay with me, because without understanding the full sequence, you'll continue running in the wrong direction. If you're ready to stop struggling, comment "I choose the reverse movement" and let's begin. To attain knowledge, add things every day. To attain wisdom, remove things every day. To make this law cease to be an abstract concept and become a clear image in your mind, let's use a powerful analogy that ancient warriors and sages understood perfectly. Imagine a master archer standing before a distant target. His objective is absolute: to hit the center. What is the first and most crucial movement he makes? He doesn't run toward the target, nor does he try to push the arrow forward with his hands. He does the opposite. He pulls the arrow back in the opposite direction of its destination. This recoiling movement isn't a step backward, but rather the very source of power. The more he pulls the string, tensioning the bow's wood, the more potential energy he accumulates. Every inch of recoil translates into meters of advance. The power that will launch the arrow with force and precision lies not in the act of releasing, but in the act of pulling back. This is the law of reverse motion in its purest and most visible form. You've tried to push the arrow back with your hands, and the result is always the same. It falls to the ground, powerless, just a few steps away from you. You've been focusing on the wrong action, the wrong movement. The universe, like the bow, operates on the principle of tension and release, of recoil and advance. By constantly pushing in a single direction, pursuing your goals linearly and aggressively, you're not building up energy for the shot. You're merely generating friction and resistance. The counterforce you feel isn't the universe conspiring against you, but rather the natural response to your misguided approach. You're trying to shoot the arrow without first drawing the bow. Consider Chinese bamboo, one of the fastest growing plants in the world. In the first few years after planting, almost nothing happens above ground. An impatient observer might say the seed didn't take, but underground, something extraordinary is happening. The bamboo is moving downward, expanding its root system, creating a solid, invisible base. It is retreating, gathering its strength in the darkness. Only after building this powerful foundation does it explode skyward, growing tens of meters in a matter of weeks. The spectacular and visible upward growth was only possible because of the patient and deliberate, invisible downward movement. The advance was a direct consequence of the retreat. This principle is not an exception found in nature. It is the fundamental rule that governs all growth and manifestation. The explosive success you see in others was often preceded by a long period of silent retreat, of invisible preparation, of accumulating energy in the opposite direction of the ultimate goal. This knowledge is not new. It wasn't invented by modern coaches or New Age gurus. It was observed, deciphered, and documented by ancient civilizations that were deeply connected to the natural laws of the cosmos. They saw this pattern in everything from the growth of plants to the movement of stars and applied it to build empires and achieve higher states of consciousness. And the original keeper of this secret, the source from which this knowledge flowed, was an enigmatic figure from ancient Egypt. The scribe of the gods and the code of the universe. This secret mechanics of the universe, the principle of retreat that generates advance, is not a recent discovery. On the fertile banks of the Nile River, where one of history's most enigmatic civilizations flourished, priests and initiates already knew and applied this law. They did not teach it openly in public squares, knowing its power could be misunderstood. Instead, this knowledge was whispered in the hushed corridors of temples, passed from master to disciple as a sacred key to mastery of reality. The supreme guardian of this wisdom was a legendary figure, a deity who personified the very intelligence of the cosmos. Thoth, the ibis-headed god. He was not only a deity of writing and knowledge, he was considered the divine scribe, the one who recorded the laws of the universe and the fates of gods and men. Thoth, who millennia later would be revered by the Greeks under the name Hermes Trismegistus, the thrice great, taught that the universe is not a collection of random events, but a perfectly ordered tapestry, woven with threads of mathematical precision and divine purpose. It was Thoth who first articulated the law of reverse motion clearly for initiates. He taught that the quickest and most effective path to any destination is not a straight line, but a movement that begins in the opposite direction. This was not a philosophy for debate, but a technical instruction on how to navigate reality. And what's most fascinating is that, thousands of miles away and centuries later, an old sage in ancient China with no exposure to Egyptian wisdom came to the same conclusion. This sage was Lao Tzu. Observing the flow of a river, the stillness of a valley, and the way nature operates effortlessly, he wrote the Tao Te Ching, one of the most profound texts ever created. And at its heart, he described the same law. Return is the movement of the Tao. The Tao, the path or flow of the universe, moves not in a straight line, but in cycles. It retreats to advance, empties to fill. Two of the greatest masters in human history, in completely different cultures and eras, deciphered the same universal code. They understood an essential truth. The same dynamics that govern the orbit of galaxies also govern the flow of health, wealth, and love in your life. The force you feel pushing you back is not bad luck or cruel fate. It is your own energy colliding with the sacred symmetry of the cosmos, because you are attempting to move in a way that violates its most fundamental law. The revelation of Thoth and Lao Tzu is not a map to a distant place. It is a mirror reflecting a truth already operating within you. This truth isn't just an ancient theory, it's alive and pulsating in everything around you, and, most importantly, within your own body. Nature demonstrates this law every second, in an infinite and perfect cycle that sustains all life. A cycle so familiar that you perform it thousands of times a day without even realizing it. A rhythm that connects your body directly to the heart of the cosmos. The most intimate and constant proof of this universal law is happening within you at this very moment, your breathing. To receive the air that gives you life, you must first exhale, empty your lungs. Inhalation, expansion, is only possible after exhalation, contraction. It's a perfect rhythm of giving and receiving, of emptying and filling. Try simply inhaling without ever exhaling. Within seconds, agony sets in. This agony is exactly what you've experienced in your life when you've tried only to receive, only to acquire, only to expand, without honoring the cycle's counterpart. Now, look outside. Nature is a symphony of this same rhythm. The day reaches its peak of light at noon, and at that very moment, it begins its return movement toward the darkness of night. Night, in turn, reaches its maximum depth and, from there, begins its journey back toward the light of dawn. The tide rises, covering the beach in its entirety, only to begin its inevitable retreat, revealing the treasures that were hidden beneath the water. Expansion and contraction, ebb and flow. It is the fundamental pulse of existence. The ancient symbol of yin and yang is not merely esoteric decoration, it is the most accurate map of how reality works. It shows us that at the height of any force, the seed of its opposite is already present and beginning to grow. Light contains the seed of darkness, and darkness contains the seed of light. Life contains the seed of death, and death contains the seed of life. It is an uninterrupted cycle of transformation where each extreme gives birth to its opposite. Trying to live in only one of the poles is a recipe for imbalance and suffering. Your personal life is no exception to this cosmic rule. Your ignorance or defiance of this rhythm is the root cause of all your frustration. When you seek only happiness without honoring sadness, only wealth without accepting emptiness, only connection without embracing loneliness, you are declaring war on the most fundamental law of the universe, and the universe, in its infinite wisdom and need for balance, has self-correcting mechanisms. These mechanisms are what you perceive as obstacles, failures, and bad luck. They are not punishments, they are rebalancing mechanisms. Your own body is a master of this dance. Science calls it homeostasis, the organism's ability to maintain a constant internal balance. When you're exposed to cold, your body shivers to generate heat. When you're exposed to heat, your body sweats to cool itself. It's always doing the opposite movement to restore harmony. When you obsessively pursue a chemical state, like euphoria, your brain releases counteracting hormones to bring you back to center, which often results in anxiety or depression. You're not fighting a mystical force, you're fighting your own biology. The task then, I say, is not to learn a new skill, but rather to make your conscious mind remember the steps of this dance that your body and nature already know so well. It's to align your will with the universal rhythm rather than fighting it. And the first practical step toward this synchronization, the most counterintuitive and powerful move you can make, is to embrace what you've been taught to fear most. It's the radical step of emptying yourself so you can finally be fulfilled. The power of emptiness and the full cup. In order to finally receive all that you seek, You must first create space. This isn't a philosophical idea, it's a purely technical instruction, a law of universal physics. Imagine a glass that's already completely full of dirty, stagnant water. You could pour all the pure water in the world into it, but the clean water would only overflow and be lost, while the glass remains full of impurities. In order for it to receive the clear water, it must first be emptied. Emptying precedes filling. Your mind and your heart work exactly the same way. A mind filled with certainties, rigid opinions, and limiting beliefs has no room to receive new wisdom or higher perspectives. A heart filled with past hurts, resentments, and fears has no room to receive true love and genuine connection. You've been trying to add more things to your life without realizing that your being is already overflowing with what prevents you from receiving what you truly desire. Emptying is not loss, it's preparation. Our modern society has taught us to fear emptiness. We've been conditioned to fill every moment of silence with noise, every blank space with objects, every thought with more information and distractions. But great masters and artists have always known that power lies not in filling, but in space. Silence is what allows music to exist. The blank space on the page is what gives form and meaning to words. Emptiness is not an absence, it is the womb of creation, the field of pure potentiality from which everything emerges. In Eastern traditions such as Buddhism and Taoism, this concept is central. In Buddhism, it is called sunyata, or emptiness. It is not a nihilistic nothingness, but a dynamic and fertile void. In Taoism, the power of the wheel lies not in its spokes, but in the empty space at the center, which allows it to turn. Your relentless pursuit of more money, more recognition, more security, has filled your being to such an extent that there is no more room for the universe to bestow gifts upon you. You cling so tightly to what you have or what you desire that your hands are perpetually closed, incapable of receiving. The practical application of the reverse movement at this deep level is the conscious practice of radical detachment. It's the courageous act of letting go of the need to be right, letting go of the need to control the outcome, letting go of old stories about who you are and what you're capable of. It's having the courage to empty your cup, trusting that the universe has pure, fresh water waiting to fill it. What you most fear losing may be the very anchor that keeps you from sailing to new oceans. The chain you believe gives you security may be the same chain that prevents you from achieving true freedom. But how can this be done in practice? How can you transform this idea of emptying yourself into concrete action that truly changes your daily reality? The answer lies not in a single act, but in 3 portals of inversion. 3 practical actions that act as keys to initiating the alchemy of reverse movement in your life. The journey now becomes practical. We leave the realm of understanding and enter the arena of transformation. The law of reverse motion is not a philosophy to be admired from afar, but an alchemy to be lived in the fire of daily experience. To begin applying this law consciously, there are 3 portals of reversal, 3 counterintuitive actions that function as master keys. They are giving, letting go, and surrendering. Each of these is the opposite movement to what your conditioned mind tells you to do. The first portal is giving. If you seek greater wealth and abundance, the reverse movement is to give generously. Your logical mind, programmed in scarcity, screams that this is madness. How can I give when I barely have enough for myself? But wealth, like a river, needs to flow. When you hoard it out of fear, it stagnates and dies. By practicing generosity, not as a transaction where you expect something in return, but as an expression of trust in the flow of the universe, you send a powerful vibrational signal that you live in a state of sufficiency. And the universe, like a perfect mirror, reflects this reality back to you. The second gateway is letting go. If you seek wisdom and clarity, the reverse movement is to let go of your need to be right. The ego feeds on opinions and certainties. It loves to debate, defend its point of view, and prove others wrong. The greatest sages in history, from Socrates to the Zen masters, practiced intellectual humility. They understood that true knowledge can only enter a mind emptied of its own certainties. While the fool is busy talking and defending, the wise man is silent, listening and learning. By letting go of your opinions, you create the vacuum that true understanding yearns to fill. The third, and perhaps most challenging portal, is surrender. If you seek power and control over your life, the reverse movement is to surrender your need to control everything. Power that imposes itself, that dominates and forces, is fragile and lives in a constant state of fear of losing control. True power, like water flowing around the hardest rock or bamboo bending in the wind without breaking, comes from flexibility, adaptability, and surrender. Surrendering is not giving up. It is handing over control to a greater intelligence operating through you, allowing it to guide you along the path of least resistance. These three actions, giving, letting go, and surrendering, are not signs of weakness. On the contrary, they require immense courage, an inner strength far greater than aggression or domination. They are the practical and conscious application of the archer's law, pulling the arrow back so it can fly forward. They are your entry into the alchemical dance of the universe. But be careful. Even with these keys in hand, the egoic mind is cunning and can easily distort these practices, leading us into a subtle trap that transforms the most powerful of strategies into yet another form of self-deception. Wu Wei, the secret of effortless action. At this point in the journey, a real danger arises, a misinterpretation that can sabotage all your progress. The mind, accustomed to thinking in binary opposites, can easily confuse reverse motion with passivity. It can tell you that giving means exhaustion, that letting go means indifference, and that surrender means giving up your dreams and becoming a doormat to the world. This is a complete and dangerous distortion of the principle. The law of reverse motion is not an excuse for laziness, it is the ultimate strategy of the masters. To understand this, we need to delve into one of the most profound concepts of Taoism, Wu Wei. Often simplistically translated as non-action, its true meaning is much more subtle and powerful. Wu Wei is not inaction. It is effortless action, or more precisely, action that is in perfect harmony with the natural flow of things. It is the fundamental difference between rowing furiously against the current and adjusting your boat's sails to capture the wind's force and use it to propel you forward. Both approaches require action. The sailor adjusting the sails isn't lying passively in the boat. He or she is attentive, focused, making small, precise adjustments to stay in alignment with a force greater than himself or herself. Rowing against the current is what you've been doing. A brutal, exhausting, and inefficient effort that forces you to fight against the very nature of reality. Adjusting the sails is the practice of reverse movement, a smart, elegant, and powerful action that utilizes existing forces to carry you to your destination with grace and energy. The Wu Wei practitioner is not an exhausted, sweaty warrior. He is a master surfer who dances with the wave, feeling its power and using its energy for a thrilling ride. He doesn't try to stop the wave or force it to go in another direction, he joins it. When you stop pushing, the universe stops pushing back. When you practice generosity, giving, the flow of abundance moves toward you. When you practice intellectual humility, letting go, the flow of wisdom finds space to enter. This is supreme intelligence applied to the art of living. You stop being a fighter fighting life and become a dancer dancing with life. It takes much more courage and awareness to adjust the sails than to desperately row. It's the martial art of the soul, where the force of your opponent, life's challenges, is redirected and used to your advantage. You move with the whirlwind, allowing its strength to carry you, knowing that every outward spiral is always followed by an inward spiral toward the center. This is the mastery that transcends brute force and enters the realm of elegance and true power. It is action without stress, achievement without struggle. Yet, even with this refined understanding, the path of practice is like walking a tightrope. The egoic mind, sensing it is losing control, will create subtle detours, nearly invisible traps designed to throw you off track and throw you back into the old matrix of effort and frustration. The path of reverse movement is subtle, and the ego, the part of you that identifies with effort and struggle, is a master illusionist. It can take the deepest truth and twist it to serve its own survival purposes, keeping you trapped while making you believe you're progressing. There are 3 fatal traps, 3 distortions that can turn the gold of wisdom into the lead of frustration, and you must be absolutely aware of them to avoid falling into them. The first and most common is superficial imitation. This is when you perform the external movements of the law without a corresponding internal transformation. You start giving money, but inside, your mind keeps screaming, scarcity, scarcity, scarcity. You begin acting humbly, but secretly feel superior and more spiritual than others. You say, "I'll let go of control," but spend all day mentally trying to manipulate the outcome. The universe doesn't respond to your mechanical actions. It responds to your vibrational frequency, to who you truly are inside. This lack of congruence creates a dissonance that completely nullifies the practice. The second trap is using the principle as an excuse for irresponsibility. It's the perversion of Wu Wei. The person thinks, "Great, I don't need to make any more effort. I'll just sit on the couch, practice effortlessness, and wait for abundance to fall into my lap." This isn't wisdom, it's laziness disguised as spirituality. Remember the navigator, he doesn't abandon the helm of the ship. He's more attentive and active than ever, but his actions are intelligent and aligned. Reversing movement isn't a license for passivity, but a strategy that requires more presence, courage, and conscious action than the brute force approach. The third trap is the most subtle and dangerous of all. Specific expectation. This is when you practice the reverse movement as a transaction with the universe. Okay, universe, I gave $100 to charity. Now I'm expecting to receive $1,000 back, preferably by Friday. You release control over a situation, but with an exact mental image of how the solution should manifest. But the universe isn't a vending machine where you insert a coin and choose the product. Your creativity is infinite. The return can come from completely unexpected directions in forms you couldn't imagine. By fixating on a specific outcome, you close off all other doors the universe could bless you through. It's like planting an apple seed and being angry that the tree also gave you shade, flowers, and a place for the birds to sing, just because the apples aren't exactly the size you imagined. The true test of your faith isn't just walking in the opposite direction, but also trusting that the destination the flow is taking you to is infinitely bigger and more beautiful than the little map you drew in your mind. The domain of inversion and the reverse mirror. Once you learn to identify and avoid these traps, your practice can deepen. You move from being a mere enforcer of the law to a master who embodies it within your being. The first step to this mastery is the conscious recognition of your personal seasons. Just as the earth has its cycles of spring, summer, autumn, and winter, your internal energy also flows in rhythms of expansion and contraction. There will be summers in your life, periods of high energy where outward movement, action, and creation are natural and fluid. But there will also be personal winters, periods of apparent stagnation, loss, or regression. The wisdom of reverse movement here is not to force summer growth during a winter blizzard. It is to honor the season. It is a time to retreat, to deepen your roots, to nourish the soil of your soul with rest, introspection, and study. It is knowing that you are not standing still, but rather accumulating the invisible strength necessary for the explosion of the next spring. Trying to maintain a perpetual summer in your life is as unnatural and exhausting as forcing a tree to bear fruit year-round. An advanced technique for this mastery is what we can call the reverse mirror. Instead of looking at the world and seeking reflections of what you want to achieve, you become the mirror that actively reflects what others need. If you encounter someone who feels weak and insecure, instead of judging them, you become a mirror that reflects the strength and potential that lie within them. If you desire love, instead of demanding it, become a mirror that reflects unconditional love to everyone around you. It's not about falsehood, but about seeing and amplifying the divine in others. The miracle of this practice is that by becoming a mirror for the highest potential of others, the universe becomes a mirror for you. Reality begins to reflect back your own highest potential multiplied in ways you couldn't foresee. You activate a law of resonance where what you emanate to the world returns to you, amplified. You stop being a beggar begging from the world and become a radiating sun, warming everyone around you and being nourished by your own light. The ultimate practice of mastery is the cultivation of the opposite. This goes beyond simply tolerating the opposite of what you desire. It's about actively falling in love with it. If you seek certainty and control, don't just tolerate uncertainty. Learn to celebrate mystery and see uncertainty as the field of infinite possibilities. If you seek success, don't just tolerate failure. Fall in love with the learning that failure brings. By embracing and integrating the opposite of your desire, you transcend polarity. You are no longer being tossed back and forth on life's pendulum. You become the still point at the center from which all movement originates. In this state of mastery, you are no longer applying a law. You have become the law itself in action. You move with the grace of a Tai Chi master, flowing with life rather than fighting it. The journey that began as a frustrating struggle against an invisible force now reveals itself as a harmonious dance with the intelligent flow of the cosmos. And the supreme beauty is that this ancient wisdom is, at this very moment, being confirmed by the most advanced science. We have reached a point of convergence where ancient wisdom and modern science meet and embrace. What Thoth and Lao Tzu called universal law, neuroscience and biology today describe with terms like homeostasis and neuroplasticity. Your body, every second, practices the reverse movement to keep you alive. It doesn't fight to maintain a constant temperature. It responds to cold by generating heat and responds to heat by generating cold. It is an intelligent system that always moves in the opposite direction to maintain balance. The happiness you obsessively pursue causes your brain to release stress hormones to restore balance, resulting in anxiety. The external power you seek generates a feeling of internal powerlessness, as your validation depends on factors you can't control. This is no longer esoteric philosophy, it's basic biology. By consciously practicing the reverse movement, you're not adopting a new belief. You're finally synchronizing with the fundamental mechanics of your own biology and the reality you live in. Look back at the person who began this journey. Something fundamental has shifted in your perception. You no longer see the act of giving as a loss, but as a cosmic investment that opens the channels for receiving. You no longer see the act of letting go as a defeat, but as the supreme strategy of the master who trusts the flow. You no longer see emptiness as a frightening absence, but as the pure, fertile potential from which everything arises. This shift in perspective is your true initiation. It is the moment when you stop working against universal laws and begin to work with them. The power you are now beginning to feel is not the raw power to dominate others or force reality. It is a much more subtle and profound power, the power of alignment, flow, and harmony. It is the power of water that, over time, wears away the hardest rock, not through force, but through persistence, flexibility, and surrender. If you feel stuck in any area of your life, the solution is not to push the door harder. The solution is to find the key you never considered using, the move you've always avoided. This is your moment of choice. You can return to the familiar struggle, to the exhaustion of swimming against the current, or you can take the courageous and counterintuitive step toward the opposite direction. To seal this transformation and move it from theory to lived experience, accept a practical 7-day challenge. Choose the one thing you've been pursuing with the most desperation and anxiety. It could be money, a relationship, professional recognition, anything. And for the next 7 days, radically commit to practicing its complete opposite, without any expectation of results. If you seek money, find creative and genuine ways to be generous with your time, knowledge, or resources. If you desperately seek love, dedicate yourself to giving unconditional love and appreciation to others, expecting nothing in return. Do this not as a trick to manipulate the universe, but as a sacred act to reconfigure your own vibration and your relationship with desire. The Tao that can be named is not the eternal Tao, said Lao Tzu, but the Tao that can be practiced is the way back home. And that path, paradoxically, wonderfully, miraculously, begins by turning around. If you've made it this far, it's because your soul has recognized this truth. You're no longer operating on autopilot. To seal this new awareness, leave the phrase in the comments. My path forward is return. If you feel this content has helped you and want to support the channel more directly, you can contribute in the first pinned comment. Any help you can give is very important to me and to the growth of the channel, allowing me to continue spreading more messages like this. But understand that just watching until the end is a huge help. If you can, share this video with someone who also needs to hear it. And before you go, your journey doesn't have to stop here. I've put together a special video to take you to the next step, delving even deeper into what we've discussed. Don't leave yet. Click on the video that's currently appearing on your screen, and we'll meet there.